now to talk more about the international effort to help the millions affected by this massive typhoon is Robert Laprade, Associate Vice President with Save the Children's Division of Humanitarian Response. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
One of the major concerns right now is that aid is taking so long to get to the victims. What are the major challenges that rescue workers are facing?
Well, you're right. It's a huge logistical problem. I think that's one of the major problems that the international community and the Philippines government and others are facing in trying to get in. The destruction was huge. We had a team on the ground in Tacloban during the whole typhoon while it hit, and this is way beyond anything many of them have ever seen. The destruction of even like cement buildings and others is unlike much of anything that we usually see.
Right, and one of the concerns being expressed by some of the rescue workers is that they have not heard from people in the coastal areas where there are many, many fishing villages, which is leading to fears that this death toll could be much higher.
We expect the same thing. I think that under these normal circumstances, something like this, I was a first responder to the Asian tsunami in Indonesia, as well as the Japan tsunami in Iwate Prefecture there. And I think the needs and the extent of the devastation are just evolving. These are the kind of things that take sometimes a week to really understand just how big the scale actually is.
Right, and one can understand people's impatience, but what for the government are the priorities right now?
I think it's immediate needs. It's food, it's shelter, it's really people even just having a safe roof over their head right now. We're concerned about just children having a safe place to sleep. I think even the separation of families also is still a thing. People are walking around, they're wandering around the streets looking for their relatives. And then the real basics of food, shelter, and medicines. We understand even at the hospital in Tacloban, there's really no medicine to even go around at this point.
What do we know about communications in that area? Because we heard earlier that a lot of the roads are not passable because of trees that have fallen over. In fact, some of the roads have been completely destroyed as well. Is the airport open in Tacloban?
The airport itself is not, but there are ways to get in otherwise. It depends on which area. There's also other islands that have been badly affected. It wasn't just Leyte, which obviously was perhaps the worst affected, but Iloilo and other places. Save the Children has had a team on the ground that's doing assessments there. And while very difficult, it depends on the area quite a bit. But many areas, especially in Leyte and Samar, are still very inaccessible, and I think the news is yet to come.
Right, and we're also hearing that another problem is now occurring, and that is maintaining law and order. We're hearing of a lot of looting going on.
That's a big concern. I mean, I think people are really desperate. They have nothing. Things have just disappeared. Our own team that has been staying in a tent last night at the airport after they were in another building that was completely destroyed. Even they were trying to find water bottles and something just to eat. Never mind provide aid. So, I mean, it's a desperate situation.
Right, and what of the international aid effort right now?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, the logistics is the big thing, trying to actually get kind of a supply chain in there that it's not drips and drabs, but actually large amounts of food and water and medicine are actually needed. So I think the focus is on getting that so the scale can get in to really help a large number of people.
Right. Which are the countries that would be best placed to help the Filipinos right now? The United States has resources in that area, and I believe they have been approached for help, and that help is forthcoming.
Yeah, and I believe we're very encouraged by the what the Philippines government has done as far as outreach to others and say, you know, our doors are open and we need the help and come on in and let's try to do this together. And I know from an aid agency's point of view, that's a good environment that I think can try to address in the best way possible this horrible disaster.
Right. What do we know about this particular area where this typhoon hit very hard? There are a bunch of islands. Where are they? Pretty remote, aren't they?
Well, I've actually been to Tacloban, to Leyte, a few years ago, and I know it's a fairly flat area in a lot of places. There are some small hills, but that obviously was quite bad as far as when the wave and the storm surge came in. But I mean, the infrastructure in the Philippines in that area is relatively good, but it's a lot of it's been destroyed. You know, bridges and, as you mentioned, trees down everywhere, and anything that runs along the coast, all those roads we can be quite sure are just devastated.
And as I understand it, most of the damage was caused by a very fierce storm surge that hit most of these coastal villages.
Yes, I think so. There's flooding inland, and the wind could, I mean, the wind did incredible damage because it was so strong. But it's really the storm surge that came in. I saw a couple of clips of different things of people in like the second floor of cement buildings, and the water was coming in and down the stairs, and the surge really happened fast, like within minutes that people had to get out.
And we looked at the pictures as well, and I guess it's going to be a long, long time before this place returns to any kind of normality.
Absolutely. You know, I was saying I worked in Indonesia for a while, and you know, it took in Indonesian government probably, you know, the infrastructure was fairly good and quite capable with disaster preparedness and things like that, but it took years to rebuild after that, and I think that's probably what we're looking at here. It's quite tragic.
Okay, so we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you.